First, we want to establish that it's not about being whether you're introverted or extroverted. That's not the point, because there are preferences that are just who you are. Some people prefer not to be stimulated like a bunch of noises and crowd noise, and then on the other hand, some people get kind of excited about that.
In this military sleep method, it sounds so militant, but it's really soft and easy and gentle if we'll just put them into place. Number one is deep breathing. Number two is relaxing your face.
We have kind of debunked the fact that it takes a lot of money to live healthy.
Right. Well, and sometimes having more wealth can create a whole bunch of stress, that actually can cause your health to go in the reverse mode. It has been said, and we agree, that you become like the 5 people you hang out with the most. It is so important to pick the right people to hang out with, and it's important to avoid the wrong people to hang out with. We got to love all people, but some people you need to learn to love from a greater distance. Additionally, the importance of good social connections can affect positively your health outcome. Let's talk about social connections and the people you hang out with.
Well, we are by design social creatures. And when we saw in the season of the pandemic where we became isolated, we saw more and more mental illness and true clinical depression coming to the forefront. So as we understand that we need sociability, we need to develop social relationships. Well, just how do we do that? We're busy people. We have families. We get buried, and before we know it, we become isolated just in our work setting and our family setting. So let's talk a little bit about some points and some tips that people can do to encourage relationship.
Well, first, we want to establish that it's not about being whether you're introverted or extroverted. That's not the point, because there are preferences that are just who you are. Some people prefer not to be stimulated like with a bunch of noises and crowd noise, and then on the other hand, some people get kind of excited about that. They love that adrenaline rush. This is about getting healthy connections. So I think the number one thing people need to do is make a list right now of who your 3 or 4 closest friends are. Make that list and cultivate those relationships. I'm not saying you have to spend X number of minutes or hours with them per week, but at least make a point to call them or talk to them at least once a week and say hello. Communication is key to good, healthy relationships.
Now, you're my person. I spend the majority of my time with you.
Of
so
course.
I can unintentionally neglect my friends or even my family. So I have made it a point to, on a regular basis, pick up the phone and make a phone call. I've made it a point to send a card or send a letter, and in turn, that gets me a phone call. I get called and said, hey, thank you so much for sending that. So if you don't make the connection, or if I don't make the connection, the relationship doesn't grow.
Yeah, without communication, you have no connection. With no connection, you have disconnection. And what can happen so much, we get so busy in our own lives, and there's nobody I'd rather talk to than you and connect with you. At the same time, we have to be connected to other people somehow, whether firm or loose. That connection has to be fostered. And when you look at that, you've got to pick the right people, because there could be so many unhealthy connections that suck the life out of you. If these connections are like electricity, some electricity can be enhancing, and some of it can shock you, right? The shock electricity might be synonymous with maybe unhealthy relationships. So we need to do some tactical pruning on that, I think, get that off of there and then work toward establishing better relationships. And communication is key. I mean, I'm okay for people sending a text message once in a while. There's no problem with that.
But let's talk to each other.
But let's communicate.
Let's sit down to dinner with
Yeah.
each other.
I was
Let's set a social event together with each other.
We were talking about this the other day, you know, if 90% of all communication is nonverbal, if that's true, let's say it
You might
is.
as well be mute.
You're talking communication with text message, you're not communicating. So 90% of that might be gone, right? So you can see where misunderstandings can occur. So good communication facilitates good mutual communication of understanding with different ideas. I think you can learn a lot by talking with somebody, not at them, but with them.
Yeah, speaking of which, when in my younger years, it didn't matter where I went, I would sit in a group of people and I always feel like the outcast. No one would talk to me. I'd feel alone. I'd feel, isolated. And what I realized is that I had to be the icebreaker. So just saying, hey, I like your necklace, or hey, where did you get your pants? Or hey, how's your day? It strikes up a conversation, and believe it or not, they have the same feeling of awkwardness, and they're just looking to connect as well. So be the one that breaks the ice. Be the one that says, hey, how's your day? Of course, you don't want to just do that to anybody with the circumstances that are in our world today. But if you're in a group of people that you know, in a social setting, strike up a conversation.
The irony about this is if you look back at history, even before social media, when people got sick, they naturally drew back from the crowd and they would stay isolated because they were sick. You can see how that would make sense because they don't want to affect the crowd with the sickness. But what we're talking about is don't isolate yourself when you're not sick because you need that. Historically, we needed that. There was survival in the tribes. There was survival in communities. That's how you supported things. And frankly, in the wild, the lions, how they attack, they look for the isolated, the weak, the ones that are alone. They can attack them easily. So we need those community partnerships.
And we have found that our family brings us so much joy, and they live at such a distance away that we actually have to plan the time to spend the time together. Because when we do get together, the laughs, the memories, the joys, and it's not stressful. You don't have to be on your game. You don't have to be talking about business. It's just a relaxing time. But if you don't plan it, it won't happen.
And see, the benefits of these connections, you can reminisce, have good memories, good conversation, good joy. You can learn a few things. Foster and communicate healthy relationships and be guarded, really tight against cultivating these toxic, codependent relationships, because you truly do become, as we said at the top, like the 5 people you hang out with the most. Think about that.
What's all this scuttle about the military sleep method?
It's not about yelling at you. It's actually about improving your sleep. Find out about it next.
Our flagship product is called Kingdom Fuel. Tell us a little bit about Kingdom Fuel and why it's so good.
We saw people struggling with the idea and concept of it's too expensive to eat healthy. So we thought, okay, that's the problem. Let's find a solution. So we found a solution for $5 or under per meal. And that represented the birth of the idea of Kingdom Fuel. So Kingdom Fuel is organic pea protein. It's got greens and reds in it. So this is the phytonutrients from green plants and red plants that we all talk about. Eat your vegetables, right? It's also got vitamins and minerals in it. So it's got a complete complex of that. And it's got also soluble and insoluble fiber, which the difference between the two is profound. Soluble actually gathers moisture and makes you full, and the insoluble goes through the system and grabs things like damaged particles.
The body runs on nutrients. It doesn't run on medication. And Kingdom Fuel is a complete multivitamin and mineral.
Introducing OK Movie Stream, your ticket to a world of cinematic classics and wonders, right from the heart of Oklahoma and the surrounding areas.
Baby, take a walk under the moonbeams.
Dive into a world of captivating stories and extraordinary talent, all on OK Movie Stream.
You got to believe, y'all.
Choose the option that suits you best. Watch for free with commercials, binge watch your favorites for 3 days, or unlock ad-free streaming for just $10 a year. Join the OK Movie Stream community today and embark on a cinematic journey like never before.
I don't know about you, but I have to have that cup of coffee in the morning. And Kingdom Cup is mold-free, it is pesticide-free, and it is organic. It's got this flavor that is delicious. You don't even have to put cream or sweetener in it.
And it's Kingdom Cup with a K,
K.
right? So this is important. 50% of all coffee at least contains mold. And this is a key thing. That's in bean form, right? So you're going to be a little grinder. They're just a few bucks. Grind it up, put it in your maker, and make it. Why did we go with the bean form, the whole bean? Because ultimately the powder form is the one that gathers the most moisture. And that means the more potential mold development. So this is actually organic, mold-free, certified. It's got a little certificate with it. That's important because ultimately people drink coffee. It's cultural. And so we tried to meet the culture where it is and create a healthy alternative. You know, when I think about the military, there's a ton of disciplines there that I really appreciated. I'm gripped and really focused in on this idea of boot camp where there's no sleep. But did you know something that we found interesting? We recently read an article on there is something called the military sleep method. You've heard us talk about sleep so many times, but what if there was a method that might help improve your ability to not just go to sleep, but stay asleep? And it was generated with kind of a military mindset. Fascinating. Talk about that.
Yeah, and so many people are on sleep medications and haven't tried just the simple things to see if they can help their sleep sanitation. So we're going to talk about a few things in this military sleep method. It sounds so militant, but it's really soft and easy and gentle if we'll just put them into place. Number one is deep breathing. Number two is relaxing your face. Number three would be dropping your shoulders and your arms while you're relaxing in bed. Number four would be working your way downward. And number five, clearing your mind. Why don't you tell us a little bit about deep breathing?
Well, first of all, when we think about deep breathing, we need to understand it's the opposite of shallow breathing. And what is shallow breathing? Shallow breathing might be up here. And so if you can, I want you to kind of think right here. I want you to go ahead and this might seem weird, but wherever you are, stop. If you're driving, don't do it later. Put your hand right here and just, I want you to do shallow breaths, shallow breaths, shallow breaths like this. You know, you're going to see your shoulders bounce. You'll see your chest rise up. Shallow breathing is shallow inhalation, shallow exhalation. So it's a really rapid breathing. It actually occurs when we stress out a little bit, where you kind of do this. Now, deep breathing, on the other hand, is push downward. So you can also do the same things, hands here. Go down here and put your hands right there across your navel. And if you can see this, and you're looking at me, and I'm going to demonstrate this in a very robust manner so you can see it. If you work on diaphragmatic breathing or downward breathing, when you inhale, stomach comes out. When you exhale, stomach goes back. Upper body doesn't move. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. You can even practice that by lying on your back and putting a book, put a big old Bible on your belly and work on Bible lifts with your belly, right? So the bottom line is that forces the body to go from a stress response into a relaxation response. I learned that technique when I was actually a sniper on the SWAT team, right, years and years ago, and it can help you force the relaxation response. So I thought, without question, that's the most important to do first.
Is deep breathing.
You bet.
And then, you know, all of the gates are mainly in the head besides touch: sight, ears, hearing, speaking, smelling. So relaxing the face, starting with the forehead, you just behind your eyelids, if your eyelids are closed, just visualize from the top of your head all the way down to right below your chin. Focus on relaxing each part of your face, specifically the tongue. We think about how much we talk every single day, and we lay down at night and we still have this extreme amount of tension around our oral cavity, still around the back of our eyeballs and our brain. So relaxing the face is the second part of that military sleep sanitation. Third is going to be dropping your shoulders and your arms. Why would that be important?
Well, it's important because it's almost like a waterfall. You know, waterfall has a lot of power, but you hit that at the bottom of that waterfall, it makes the power, but then it flows. And it's always been mesmerizing to look at a waterfall. But think about this as you relax from here downwards, even going into number 4. Think about it being like pouring a pitcher of water on your head, and it goes down. So think about it going down. And if you think about the relaxation process like flowing water going down, that's a good visualization you can get. Perhaps when you work on the breathing and you start trying to relax, and imagery part of that, think about the waterfall going down. And, you know, generally that's a good way to sort of get that total body relaxation.
Well, and we oftentimes just come to terms with the fact that we're still holding a lot of tension, maybe in our abdomen or maybe in one leg more than the other because we've got an injury. So focusing on relaxing each body part is very, very essential. And then last but not least, totally clearing your mind. Why would that be important?
Well, the mind is an active thing. The mind is outside of the brain. You know, I look at this like the idea of, you know, the mind being a funnel to the outside world, with the end of that funnel going into your brain to provide that pharmaceutical drive of stress or not. So to clear the mind out really is to actively put things that actually are peaceful into the mind. So when we talk about the imagery, the waterfall, the relaxation, maybe a beach somewhere, imagining the waves. That's why some of these sound machines work pretty well. That is important, because if your mind is active like that and you have these perpetual stressful, like what if I don't get this done thoughts, or fear thoughts, or this is coming tomorrow thoughts, it will disturb your sleep patterns. So that's a great technique. I mean, I don't really understand why it's entitled military method.
Should be the parasympathetic method.
Yeah, it should be a method that we all like. Anybody should do this. Military, call it paramilitary, call it non-military if you want. We need to do this thing. You heard those 5 steps there, 1, 2, 3, 4. Work those things. Listen to this over and over again. And if you need some help from not a non-pharmaceutical standpoint, we love 2 products: Alpha Theta PM Ultra, Alpha Theta PM Ultra, and also magnesium glycinate. Those can help in an immense way. So here's to a wonderful, great night's sleep, not just tonight, but every night.
Does wealth really equal health? Coming up next.
I'm curious. We'll find out. Kingdom Candy with a K again. 2 flavors. We got salted
Delicious.
caramel and peanut butter. These are great. I mean, they're
kind of like a complete meal.
yeah, they're 200 calories. People want to know that all the time, and not that we're worried about calories, but these things have great ingredients. They're not sweetened with sugars. They don't have those false sugars or fake sugars, artificial
They've got
sugars.
fiber in them.
They do. It's interesting. Salted caramel crunch is our newest flavor. We'll come up with some other stuff at some point, but those can bridge the gap of that sweet tooth craving. They're sweetened with monk fruit, and that's really, if you know what that is, it's not going to raise blood sugar.
It's really only 2 grams of sugar. I refer to it as the sweet without the cheat.
Any of these things out here are designed to be money-saving, nutrition-giving, and life-enhancing, and this is a big deal. So you'll find out, like thousands of other people did, that these things will help you live healthy longer. The body's amazing at recovery, so you want to give it every chance, no matter what time it is. So in that context, no, it's certainly never too late. You're never too old to start trying to be healthy.
No matter where you are in terms of your health, that you can turn this around.
It's never too late to start a wellness program, and it's never too late to reach your healthcare goals. There's an old adage, and I'm not sure where it came from, but I really do like it. And they say the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
We just want people to hang on to hope.
We are hope dealers. And if you are not paying attention to the 4 foundational pillars of health, physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual, eventually it is going to catch up.
If we get all those 4 areas right, and we do it right, we see a dynamic occur in the middle called wellness, and that's where people get better. Their health is really going to return as a side effect of wellness.
Health and wealth, how do they relate?
Well, a lot of people think that, if you have more wealth, you can actually have better health or better health care. And I suppose on that note, you could probably afford better health care, but my question marks go up, and yours probably would too. What is health care, and is there such a thing? So I'm not really sure that wealth can buy better health. I think it has better, perhaps, opportunities that are related to maybe more health.
Well, if you're looking at the bigger picture, sometimes more wealth can get you a better place to live. So there's better sanitary conditions, there's cleaner water, there's quicker, easier access to health care, quicker and faster than somebody who's living in a lower socioeconomic type of lifestyle. Now, we do know that when it comes to health, we have kind of debunked the fact that it takes a lot of money to live healthy.
Right. Well, and sometimes having more wealth can create a whole bunch of stress, that actually can cause your health to go in the reverse manner. We've seen a lot of people that are very, very wealthy as far as the world standards might be, but they struggle with health because that's all they're focused on is their wealth. So there is a balance there that we're trying to find, and I'm all about people having enough provision to do what they want, but I don't see that, just a straight up thing that having more worldly wealth is straight up equivalent with worldly health. There's so many variables that you've just mentioned, a few of them.
Well, we know that in order to change the totality of the situation, at the base, it's going to be education. And education has to come for not just the wealthy, but the ones that live in rural communities, may have less access to health care. We need to be educating people on what it means to live a healthy lifestyle.
We do, and I think, we were talking earlier today about the idea of social media and the connectivity that we have. That's a great technology, and it can communicate really across the world in just a blink, which is crazy. We should be using that platform to create better health and better ways to live healthier, and not just really focus totally on wealth. I have watched many people in my life that so focus on wealth, their whole life says something like this: I'm going to pursue wealth, and when I get this amount, I'm going to stop and slow down and enjoy my life. Well, guess what happens? They never stop, because that pursuit of wealth can become
Creates
addictive.
Stress.
Yeah, it creates more. And so we've got to find balance in that. I think, as you said to me many times, that wealth or provision sort of follows truth. Well, what is truth? Truth is living healthy in all ways, not just financially, but also physically, emotionally, spiritually, and even intellectually. So there's all kinds of variables there, and I get a little frustrated with people that write articles like that and say that, well, more wealth will do this, because it can give people the wrong idea. I mean, from a person that doesn't have much, they can throw their hands up and say, well, what's the use? I don't have anything.
Well, so at the baseline, what we can do for all people is we can educate them. And we've created something really great. It's called Kingdom Fuel.
Yeah.
And when people say, well, I can't afford to live healthy, I can't afford a healthy lifestyle, we kind of debunk that with talking about Kingdom Fuel. Can you kind of mention the importance of what Kingdom Fuel is and how it can help somebody who may not have wealth?
Well, one of the greatest myths that we have today in our world is this idea that you have to have a lot of money to eat healthy. That's just simply not true.
Yeah, the standard American lunch costs what?
Yeah, it's between like $16 and $20 typically. And that's just general. That's in the Midwest. You go somewhere west or east coast, you might pay more than that. I'm talking
Just
whether
a
it's
salad.
good or bad, but that's a salad and a piece of meat maybe on it. But
Little
you look
dressing.
at Kingdom Fuel, we did that for one reason alone, to really give people an alternative of healthy food that was cheap or cheaper. And actually, you look at Kingdom Fuel, it has organic pea protein, and it has vitamins and minerals, greens and reds, and of course a lot of good amount of fiber. And for a whole serving of that, which you can live on, right? Just mix it in water if you want to. You don't have to, but you can. 3 level scoops on that, went up to the little line in the scooper. That is the equivalent of $5 per meal. Most people use 2 scoops, so that's the equivalent of about $3.50 per meal. So there's really no excuse when you look at it like that. We take away that. Now, people still want to make excuses because you can get addicted to a place. Just like you can get addicted to the pursuit of wealth, you can get addicted to poverty. You can say you're impoverished because that's what you do, and that becomes your identity when it doesn't have to be. So in all cases, we've got to find the alternative to get out of anything that holds us back from the idea of true health.
So we kind of debunked the fact, we know that wealth can get you better health care, get you in
Yep.
faster, quicker, easier, but education at the root is going to be the key. So there are many places where you can even go to our website and get education on how to live a healthy lifestyle, physically, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually, how to get your hands on Kingdom Fuel, which nourishes the body in a complete and total way. And then people, secondarily, they can get more exercise, which makes a body fit. And once you're fit, that inflammatory level goes down, and it helps you ward off sickness and disease better.
It doesn't cost you anything to go for a walk. Folks, listen, at least go for a walk and try to get 1 healthy meal a day. You know, that's the true concept that we need to be really focused on. You know, not that we're against wealth. That's not the point. But if you are wealthy out there and people are listening right now and you struggle with health, maybe you should start putting some of that wealth towards your own health. And maybe you could even consider blessing someone else less fortunate with an opportunity for more health. So there's all kinds of ways that we can turn this around and make it better.
Yeah, so we know we can do better with our nutrition. It's called Kingdom Fuel. If you don't have any other resources or access, it's $5 a meal. We know we can go for a walk, we can move, we can get that Kingdom Fuel to our systems with moving, getting blood oxygen and nutrients to our tissues. And then anybody can pick up a good book on self-help ideas. We've got several books available that help people walk down a healing journey.
So wealth can sometimes equate to health, but not all the time. It just gives you other opportunities. But we just encourage you to value the real wealth, which is actually your health.